Hey, happy Friday, Mr. H here, hanging out with you. How you doing? Welcome to Planet Earth. We're going to talk about history. We're going to talk about dinosaurs. Actually, a prehistoric shark, but close enough to live with dinosaurs. And of course, check out what's going on in the UFL. Man, it's Friday. We got here. Going to have a great time because it's the weekend. Monday will be around soon enough, but it's okay because how do we pay for all our stuff, right? Think about it. All right, how'd you enjoy that solar eclipse? Yeah, it was. If you lived in Ohio, you saw everything turn dark. Where I was, yeah, it got a little bit dark, and it definitely got cooler. That was kind of strange. Had my sunglasses out there. End of the day, it kind of turned out to be kind of a little underwhelming, but it was still fun to see everybody excited about something, good for a change. So I put on my glasses, stared up at the sun, watched the moon bite into it, and before you know it was gone. And soon after that, and I'm back to feeding the cats again. Hey, let's talk about Japan's strategic options in 1941. Why did that war go the way it did? Well, Japan, if you can see here, is an island, and weirdly enough, the Army was the senior service, not the Navy. The Army is the senior service because Japan, insular nation for most of its history. Suddenly, fast forward into the 20th century with a vengeance, built up a Navy. So when the Second World War broke out, they were going to get in the action and grab what they wanted, but they needed were resources because Japan is a resource poor country, always has been. They were importing 99% of oil, they still are. All the minerals and stuff, gold and titanium and everything they get from everywhere else. So they figured, wouldn't it be easy? We just own those places. It makes sense if you think about it. Plus, in a somewhat hostile world, 1941, the United States is main rival in the Pacific, and lots of European nations with colonies down south, it made sense to grab it, especially when those said European countries were under siege by the Nazis on the other side of the world. Yep, Japan, very good at reading maps. They had two options, and they weren't sure which ones to go with. One option was to go to the north into Siberia. Well, what's the option? Why go up there? Well, first of all, Siberia is a treasure trove of all sorts of natural resources. The Soviet Union, as you know, was getting pushed to the mat there by the Nazis. Some people speculate that had the Germans and Japanese actually cooperated with each other, they could have defeated the Soviet Union. Maybe, maybe not. Problem with going up there is, well, it's Siberia. Even if you attack in the summer and you chase the Russians off, the Russians have a nasty habit of scorched earth policy and destroying everything. And even if you rebuild everything immediately, as the Japanese are very good at doing, you still can't drill until early, or shall I say late spring, because it's, Siberia. Now, if you go down south, the climate's a lot better. Those European powers, the French, British, Dutch, they got their hands full in Europe on the other side of the world against the Nazis, so you could probably scoop that up pretty quick. Problem is, you got the Philippines right here, the cork in the bottle. U.S. owns that. And if you can go around it, but I know the Americans don't turn to an aircraft carrier and go after your Navy. Got to take the Philippines. If you take the Philippines, you're at war with the U.S. You're at war with the U.S., you got the Pacific Fleet. Pacific Fleet's in Pearl Harbor. So, take out the Pacific Fleet at Pearl Harbor, run south. That's exactly what they end up doing. Now, why did they not go to the north? You got plenty of reasons why. I just told you the climate, terrain, distances, and such. But they probed in that direction back in 1936. The big battles of Kalk and Gall. They usually say battle like it's one big thing. It was a series of campaigns, kind of an undeclared war. The Japanese are already fighting in China, so they start probing north into Manchuria, Mongolia, and they run into Soviet forces who are allied with the Mongolians. It doesn't work out too well. The Soviet-Mongol forces about 70,000. The Japanese have 30,000. They try to push forward. It doesn't work out very well. The Japanese are resoundingly defeated. Why? Like I said, you're very far away. Look at that terrain, just wide open. Can't fight an army twice your size in open terrain, man. It usually doesn't work out that great. And somewhere, someplace, Genghis Khan was wondering what is going on. The Russians allied with the Mongols. Yeah, I hate to tell you this, Jingles, but things have been changed in the 700 years since you ran around. But, Soviet Union and Mongolia on the same side on this one, and they sent the Japanese reeling. Hence, the Japanese go south to the, what we call, southern resource area. Had they decided to go north, Kalk and Gall works out for them, or maybe they just decide to wipe the slate clean and go again. This would have been their plan. My first thought is, do this in the spring or the summer. You really don't want to try going into Siberia in the winter. Take what you have to do and ride out the winter and get ready for the inevitable Soviet counterattack in the spring. You see, the first thing they're going to do, they're going to take the other half of Sakhalin Island, turn to a fifth island. The four islands of Japan, this will be the fifth one. Definitely grab Vladivostok, what they call the maritime province. And then you're going to head towards Lake Baikal. You have to get around this thing. Go north to south around Baikal. You're going to go south. Take out Mongolia. That becomes your satellite state. You got wide open area. And this step 4 about advancing into central Siberia. This is very optimistic to get to Lake Baikal. I don't think it's going to happen on 4. But, the Japanese have a way of doing things people don't expect them to do. They're very good at that sort of stuff. But this never happened. Not sure it would have ever actually worked. Fortunately, we didn't have to find out, especially when the Soviet Union was under attack by the Nazis at the same time. Japan decides to head south. We know how this is going to turn out, right? I don't think they saw this coming. And when it hit them, well, it hit them pretty hard. Even worse, we get a movie with Nick Jonas. I'm just kidding. Maybe. I don't know. If you're a Nick Jonas fan, please do not attack me. Anywho, this was a pretty good movie. He was actually portraying a guy named Bruno Guido, who was a very brave guy. He didn't have a mustache. You can see it wasn't from New York, it was from Illinois. But still, very brave man. The part about hopping in the back of the plane with the machine gun, taking out the falling Japanese bomber, that was actually very true. His grandparents, his grandchildren and great-grandchildren are very happy the way he was portrayed in the movie, despite, the fact he's not from Long Island. But, hey, win's a win, man. We're all in this together. Mr. H likes his paleo art, right? Well, I saw this picture the other day. I thought that was pretty cool. And this is a shark called I can't ever say this word, Cretoxyrhina. We'll go with that one. So I was looking at this thing and said, wow, and did a little research on this thing, and I was impressed, man. We're talking about a shark 20 feet long, maybe a little bit bigger based on the teeth. And it may not have been the apex predator, but it was ranking up there, man. It carved out its own niche in the Cretaceous period, and it's called the shark that ate dinosaurs. All right, not exactly 100% true. That's a marine reptile, but still. We also know this is true because we found this thing's teeth embedded in a lot of animals, including remains of, you guessed it, Mosasaurus right here. Small Mosasaurus, but Mosasaurus nonetheless. We also know that it could jump. We have an impression of the tail in the mud, along with the teeth, some of the spine, so we know it's a shark, how big it is. The tail is the kind of tail that's made for whipping through the water very quickly. And we know it jumped because we found teeth of this shark embedded in the neck of a pterosaur. Some people say, how do you know it wasn't dead and just floating along on the surface? Well, the angle tells us it had to have been a jump. So it could jump out of the water and take down large flying reptiles. Like any other shark in the history of the planet, it basically will eat anything. Also a really good sized fish here. Here we go, name again. Cretoxyrhina was about 21 feet long. Some people say about 25. I'm looking at this thing. I'm looking at the picture. I'm looking at how it behaves, what it eats, how it moves. Looks awful familiar, doesn't it? I've seen this thing somewhere before. Where have I seen this thing? Same size, same general sort of appearance, same behavior. Yeah, not just picture this thing. I've seen it in real life out in the ocean. Yeah, that's a great white shark, man. Yeah, great white shark living in the Cretaceous period and doing quite well, I might add. This is what I call a chronospecies. What's a chronospecies? It's an animal that, doesn't change much over hundreds of millions of years. Basically, the great white shark is the same from the Cretaceous period. Some people argue with me about that. If you're ichthyologist, go ahead. Shout at me in the comments. Maybe I'll answer. Maybe I'll ignore you. I don't know. It depends how I feel this day. Penguins won. I'll probably answer you. But, yeah, it's the same animal. Now, you're wondering what happened between the Cretaceous and today. Well, you've got other species. Megalodon, you ever hear of that? Much bigger. Otodus, which was, not quite as big as Megalodon, but bigger than the great white. So it's basically the same animal, just kind of gets bigger, gets smaller as circumstances dictate. So I call it chronospecies, chronotime species, same animal all the way through time. Hey, speaking of something that's going to live through time, check out my book Heavensteel. It's over on lulu.com. It's spreading to other places. Buy it. Help Mr. H save up for a trip for the bakery for some leftover donuts. No, I don't care. Probably not. I'm not a starving artist, but buy it anyway. Makes me feel good. I get $1.12. Alrighty, let's move on to the United Football League. We had really fun there week 2. Had some really awesome games. Some people claim the NFL is scripted. Well, if the UFL is scripted, it got some good writers. I'll give them that. San Antonio and Memphis. The San Antonio Brahmas, strange name. The Memphis Showboats, kind of odd too. They clashed over there in the Liberty Bowl. Memphis had a big lead. They blew it at the end, and San Antonio walks out with a 20-19 victory. Case Cook is there. His 3rd year in various spring league, USFL, now United Football League, is becoming, I think, the greatest quarterback in the history of this league. He can't really land a job there with the NFL, but he's doing great in the UFL. That's kind of what this league is all about. St. Louis Battlehawks, the Arlington Renegades clashed over in the Dome of America Center. This game I watched, it was really good. The Battlehawks pull it out at the end, 27-24. Hey, Arlington, all that talk about winning the championship last year and hoping to repeat, yeah, you're 0-2. So, yeah, you might want to get on. It's a 10-game schedule. You need to get it together real fast. St. Louis looking good, doing the usual St. Louis thing. I noticed it last year. They always play badly for about 58 minutes, and then the 2-minute warning hits, and suddenly they wake up. I'm not sure what that's all about, but it's bringing in the crowds like that one. Look at this, 40,000 people in the stands. The whole lower bowl is filled. I think there might be some people there in the upper stands. Maybe we're not supposed to be there. I don't know. But, yeah, this is kind of a story with new leagues. You really need to get the crowds in there. Why are you wearing a San Diego San Diego Chargers jersey? Oh, sorry, Los Angeles Chargers jersey. No, whatever. You paid your ticket, you got in. We're welcome. We're happy to see you. 40,000 people in the stands in St. Louis, man. Keep it going. Keep it going. Not working out so great for the Michigan Panthers. They lose to the Birmingham Stallions 20-13. Okay, when your knees are on the ground, play's over, man. Don't try to throw the ball. Might get intentional grounding if the ref's in a bad mood. Over here, I'm not going to tell you how to coach your team, Michigan, but standing around while a guy's going into the end zone isn't going to help. Now, Birmingham caught some flack because they played most of their games at home over the last 2 years. Remember their hub strategy the USFL was using at the time. They've started off their first 2 games this year on the road and have won both rather convincingly. Yep, they've got 2 championships in a row. They're looking for number 3, the three-peat. Still 8 more games to go, but off to a really good start. DC Defenders against the Houston Roughnecks. Well, DC wins it 23-18. That's their 10th straight win at home. They have yet to lose a game at home. Yeah, the one game they lost last year was to the Orlando Guardians, who were absolutely terrible, no longer around. And, of course, they lost the championship game. But they have yet to ever lose at home. This, of course, is the second XFL team champion victory over a USFL team. Even though it says Roughnecks, it's actually the Houston Gamblers. But they're Roughnecks now. So the XFL, USFL tally is even at 2-2. Just thought you should know that in case somebody out there is betting on this. They'll bet on anything. Most importantly, we had a beer snake sighting at the DC game. I wanted to know how long it was and how many cups. The very first one they had was 1,200. So it looks about the same size. Hey, I'm just happy it's there, right? Taking a look over here at the standings in the UFL. There's Birmingham in the USFL conference at 2-0. 2-0 on the road, man. They're coming back home soon enough. Michigan and Memphis both 1-1. Still early in the year. And Houston's 0-2. You need to get it together. Now over in the XFL, San Antonio 2-0. People didn't see that one coming. DC and St. Louis at 1-1. Arlington 0-2. Just like Houston, need to get it together, man. So next week is week 3. Going to start to see some separation. Going to find out who's really a champion, who's just a poser, and how we're going to find this out by checking out who's playing who. Stole this right off the UFL website, so you know this is legitimate. So the DC Defenders are headed to Arlington to play the Renegades, rematch of the XFL Championship last year. They're going to be playing at Choctaw Stadium. That's on Saturday. Saturday night, Memphis heads to Birmingham, the two-time defending champion, Birmingham Stallions, home opener over in Protective Stadium. Houston will be playing Michigan on Sunday over at Ford Field. This should be an interesting one. I don't know why. It's just sort of a gut feeling. I think this is going to be a really awesome game for some reason. St. Louis Battlehawks leave one dome to head to another dome. They're going to the Alamo Dome to play San Antonio. This is going to be a fun game too. Why? Because San Antonio is better than advertised, and we know how the St. Louis Battlehawks like to wait to the last 2 minutes for waking up and winning the game. They did that last year in San Antonio. How much you want to bet they do it again? Why? Because that is what they do. The St. Louis Battlehawks. You guys have yourself a fantastic weekend. I hope I got off to a good start for you. Have a fantastic day. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out Mr. H's new book, Heavensteel. And I will see you next week, unless there is an alien invasion or the robot takeover happens, in which case it was great knowing you, nothing personal. Have a great day, and das vidanya.